lost the.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
No, don't worry about it tonight. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? All right, cool. Well, this is a final session. How many is somebody graduating this semester? Graduating Friday? Everybody walking? What are you walking for? What are you walking with? What do you got? What's your degree? What are you walking?
Social science.
Social science. Congratulations. What else? What are you walking?
Social studies.
Social science. Art. That's. All right. Well, we're gonna do make it quicker than I think. Is I'm gonna bring them up one at a time on the screen. I've got a couple folks asked to go a little early, so to save time, originally I wanted to switch it around the room, but I think I'm just gonna have you guys come up one by one, sit in my place, sit down in my chair, talk about your app, present it, demo it. Sound good? Then we'll go on to the next one. So here's how we're gonna do it. This is no particular order here, but Samantha's going to come up first, and you want to go and come on up. That'd be great. While she's coming up, let me pull up the presentation question. These are just things I want you guys to talk about. Some of you are going to have did a video, which Samantha did, and then you're going to talk about your app first, show the video, and then that's it. That's all you'll need to do, okay? So a couple things you'll need to talk about before you do the demo of your app is the concept of your app and the audience, challenges you had, successes, what you would do if you have more time to create the app or to work on the app, and then you'll demo the app. Pretty simple, right? So without further ado, I'm going to go switch it over to you. I think I've got yours up and running. Is that correct?
Yep.
Let me make sure I've got the volume up correct here for you. So loud this is.
Okay, so for my final app, I decided to make a Sudoku solve.
Okay. All right, so it's all yours.
Okay, as you heard, I made a Sudoku solver. I don't like the sound of my own voice, it turns out, but I explained everything in the video. Okay, so for my final app, I decided to make a Sudoku solver. I wanted to do this because I thought it would be fun, but also challenging. Plus, I do Sudoku puzzles all the time, so I figured it might be useful at some point. My biggest challenge, though, was definitely starting the app. The logic needed alone was pretty overwhelming, much less how I wanted to architect it. But once I got started and decided on a basic outline of how to build it, the logic came pretty easily through trial and error. Basically, I decided that I was going to keep 3 major collections that each housed 9 collections that represent like the rows. Like it would sort the whole puzzle by row, it would sort the whole puzzle by columns, and then it would sort the whole puzzle by blocks. So from there, I decided to create a separate class for each of the items for each of the cells actually within the puzzle. And it would house important information like its value, its index, the row, column, and block that it belonged to within the puzzle. So I could compare it with other stuff easier. From there, I was able to cycle through the whole puzzle, and anything that was blank, it would evaluate the possible values that it could have. And then if there was one possible value for that cell, I would just insert it into the output. And it would pretty much cycle through that until like there were no other cells with a single possible value. And then from there, I kind of let it guess. It would keep the puzzle, but it would guess on one of them and then try to solve the rest of the puzzle. So after I got all of that figured out, I was pretty excited. What I wanted to do was I would have liked to have a better way to input the original puzzle. You'll see in a second. It's not what I wanted it to be, but it'll do. So I'll just get to showing you what it does. I'll copy each of the values and it'll be like a 0 in place of the empties. So sorry, it takes a second to copy all of that into there.
You bumped it up 2 times. That's good. Wow, you're typing fast.
Okay. Now that should be everything unless I made a mistake. So now I'll run it. And there we go. So before it solved everything, there were 47 zeros, and afterwards there's 9. And then below that you can see that there's 9 1s, 9 2s, 9 3s. Just making sure that I have the number for each value. So now I'm gonna make sure that I got this all right by putting it in this online puzzle that I found.
Sorry. Back to right when it was stopped. Yep. Boom.
Now that should be everything unless I made a mistake. So now I'll run it. And there we go. So before it solved everything, there were 47 zeros, and afterwards there's 9. And then below that you can see that there's 9 1s, 9 2s, 9 3s. Just making sure that I have the appropriate number for each value. So now I'm gonna make sure that I got this all right by putting it in this outline puzzle that I found.
This takes a sec too. Okay.
Now we'll see.
Ta-da! That's about it.
There you go.
Let's give her a good job. And we're not going to go over your websites tonight, but I'll put together a page. It'll have access to everything you guys have done. I believe it was Samantha's had quite an elaborate whiteboard, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? On the layout. So it's kind of cool. Some of the stuff she did for her layout to get the logic down. So good job. All right. Okay. And then we're going to go start at the beginning here. We got Diego next. So if Diego's here, Diego here. Okay, come on up. All right, I've got yours up there for you, so it's all yours.
All right, so I wanted to do something to sort of help me with my personal work. So I thought to make a hashtag generator for Instagram, which is where I market my business. It's a pretty simple app. It just gives you the options, like the categories of picture you're going to post, and then it gives you 30 hashtags that you want to use. The biggest challenge, it was a pretty simple app, but I mean, the biggest challenge was finding a way for it to generate, or for it to randomly generate the strings. I had each hashtag be a string. And obviously the biggest success was figuring out how to make it actually randomize them. If I had more time, I definitely want to add more categories. And then I have almost 200 different hashtags in there, and each one of them I kind of tracked over a couple of weeks to make sure they were still trending and still active. And so I want to keep replacing old ones with new ones. That way it's still always at the top. So let's see if I can get this here. So it just gives you 3 options. You want to do, if you're going to do a fashion post, you do one, and then it does all 30. You just copy, and then you can paste them onto Instagram. And it works on the phone too, so you can just copy them on your phone and then transfer them over to Instagram. And it works the same way with each one, just 2, and it gives you 3. It gives you the 30, and it does different ones each time. I have so many of them in there.
Cool.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, awesome. Good job. Give a hand. Great job. The hashtags are important. Social media, for sure. Good job. All right. Next up. Boom, boom, boom. We've got. Let's see. Laura, come on up. I think I've got yours. Yep, I embedded yours in that one. So.
Okay, so I did a Scooby-Doo video game where you're supposed to go through Coolsville and basically solve the mystery for just pretty much whoever liked Scooby-Doo. It does mean you have to know a lot about Scooby-Doo because it does ask you trivia questions to play it.
That was the right one, I know, Laura.
Yeah, this does not look familiar.
That's not yours, is it? Sorry. I know you have it in the final thing. Da-da-da. Click it that way.
That looks better.
That looks better, right? And I'm gonna. This one. Does that look better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So what was hard is it's really long. It's exactly 7,100 lines of code. So I had to copy and paste a lot of stuff because a lot of it was very repetitive. And sometimes I didn't like erase everything I should have. So in one case I had a switch that was supposed to be for A, B, and C, and I put a D on the end too. And the option that was supposed to be able to be picked was D. But you couldn't do that, so it stuck you in an infinite loop, which had some very confused people testing that. But had a bunch of people test it, so it all works now, which is awesome. So we're gonna go on. I'd probably add more stories or more levels or whatever. So yeah. So it just gives you an introduction, and you get to pick who you're going to play and put in one of your options. And it'll prompt you like that to go through the rest of the story, and you keep picking what you want to do and try to figure out who's attacking the town.
All right. Let's give her a hand. Good job. All right. I think I've got Alexa's in. Are you in? You got yours up here?
Yes.
I think I got it up here, maybe. Does it right there?
Uh-huh.
All right, you want to go and come on up? All yours.
So, my app that I made is eventually going to become like a mobile app for children. It's to help them learn like shapes and numbers and like how many sides are on different shapes and stuff like that. And I came up with this. It took me forever to come up with an idea because I'm very uncreative. So I was sitting and I was babysitting my niece and my nephew. They're 3 and 6 years old. And my niece is currently in preschool. She goes into kindergarten in the fall. And she was telling me about how they were, learning about shapes and circles and everything. It just kind of like sparked it. I was like, this is a as good as an idea as I can come up with. So essentially what you'll be able to do when I finish it, once it becomes like an actual app with sound media, visuals and stuff like that, touchscreen accessible and stuff, you'll be able to select a, you'll be able to select a shape, for example, and then it'll tell you, you know, what the name of the shape is and how many sides it is. And then it'll go back in and you'll be able to continue to pick different shapes and stuff like that. And it's really cutesy. I've got the whole thing planned out. And honestly, like my biggest struggle with this was both getting it started, like just diving into developing the app to begin with, and then dealing with the class and trying to get it to kind of work into what I already had put down, because I totally spaced on that. And then last minute I realized, oh wait, you know, I need a class, I need to find a way to work it in there. So
Great job. Good job.
thank you.
You know, really cool app for preschool, that's for sure. All right, let's take a little bit of break. Go and come on up and get some more pizza. We got tons of pizza up here, and we got to finish it up before you guys leave. So if you wouldn't mind grabbing some pizza for the next couple minutes, something more to drink, and then we'll move on. Not all at once. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. And after everyone sits down here a bit, Tim will be up next. All right. Tim, it's your turn. Tim here. All right. I'll do Tim. I'll be Tim. Okay, so this is a C++ calculator. And it looks like he's got function, number of functions. Let's go and run it. There we go. 12 times 12, 144. Type any key to enter or continue, or type any key and enter to continue. Or Q to quit. There we go. Cool. Let's give Tim a hand, even though he's not here. Good job, Tim. All right. Next up, Josh. Let's see, and he has a YouTube video, so I think I've got it queued up here, Josh. Yep. So we're going to come on up, and if you want to just get it started, then you can play, because I know you talked through the video. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, it's all yours.
So you want me to say something first or whatever?
Yeah, just kind of talk the concept of it real quick, and then just play it.
Okay.
You know,
so
for long, because I know you talked about it.
Yeah, I talked about the concept in the video. It's for one of the things I forgot to mention in the video is that it's actually specifically for like scholarly work. It's supposed to be a front end. It's a text editor front end for basically text processing tools. So obviously it's not a front end right now, it's just a text editor, but yeah, so it's mostly for scholarly work, like working on Bibles and documentation HTML documents, basically that kind of thing. One of the things that I didn't mention in the video is the text processing tool that I have been working on specifically is actually for Greek. Basically what it does is it takes Greek text in English characters and then it changes it into Greek text in Greek characters. It makes it easier to read, and obviously, you don't want to go through each individual character if you're putting together, for example, a study Bible. So that's kind of more information about what I'm specifically targeting. I forgot to mention that in the video. So. All right, so this is the video for the CIS277 class, the final app requirement. So what I've put together, my app is called Tether. It's a text editor, and the main idea of the app is it's supposed to be a front end for another group of programs that I've been working on that are text processing programs. The other programs are written in JavaScript. Actually, there's only one at the moment, but the idea is that there'll be a group of them. They're all written in JavaScript. This is supposed to be, this Tether app is supposed to be the front end for those programs. And basically, it will allow people to use multiple text processing programs that I create later. And there'll be a menu to the left, I'm guessing. You'll click different buttons to allow you to switch between text processing tools. And the idea is that people who are writing books or creating documentation, maybe web pages, that sort of thing, will be able to use it and be able to use special advanced text processing tools. So for example, when I create documents, I have had problems with find and replace tools because they don't really give me all of the features that I'm looking for. And so that's one of the text processing tools that I'd like to include in the Tether app. One of the biggest challenges I had when creating this app was just trying to, well, the two biggest challenges I've had was first trying to figure out how the library that I'm using to build the app works. So I'm using WX widgets, and there was a special class called WX styled text control, and I wanted to use that, but I couldn't figure out how to use it because it ended up being that I needed to change the compiler and the library settings because it was a special class. It was included with WX widgets, but it wasn't. It required a special arguments with the compiler and the library in order to actually use. So it was outside of the normal usage. And I didn't realize that, so I kept running into errors. The other problem that I had a lot was, and I still haven't completely solved, is just figuring out how to set up WX widgets to work with Windows, because this operating system you see now is actually a Linux. So I've been able to work with it on Linux, but Windows I haven't figured out how to set it up on there. So I guess the successes I've had is it actually works. So this is how it works. So you can open it. You can open a file. That's fine. All right, so I have an example file here. It's sort of long, that gives you an idea. So now it is a window, so I guess I should just resize this. Okay, so I guess as far as successes, it does actually open files. If you want to clear the file, you go to Files, New, and it clears it for you. Oops, that's actually an error there. When you clear it, it's supposed to get rid of the setting that says that it's unsaved. So it thinks that I made a change to the file, so it's saying changes are unsaved. Are you sure you want to clear the window of text? Yes. So I guess that's a glitch there. But anyway, so you can open it, and if you were to make change to the file, and then you were to try and open a new one, it would let you know you've made a change, and that that way you know that you might want to save it. You can also save it. I'm not going to save that. I will save as, and I'll call it. Let's start with that. Change the name, save, and then I can also load. Now, there's also undo buttons, which is the most recent thing that I added. It was kind of hard to figure out how to add images to the app. So undo, redo. Another feature is that it actually has word wrap. A lot of text editors, I'm not sure exactly why, but they default to having no wrap, which is rather annoying. So this editor starts off with the default being having word wrap. You notice it also has on the left-hand side, it has a line count, so line 1, line 2, and then where word wrap is actually arrows. Now I didn't code this all myself. This is mostly just implementing WX widgets tools. So, but this is what I more or less what I want it to look like. I've showed you new, open, save, delete, save as. Save obviously just saves over the file that was open. Settings doesn't do anything yet. And I guess the only other thing to show you would be that when you press tab, I was having trouble reaching around my microphone. Okay, so when you highlight multiple lines and you press tab, instead of erasing those lines and replacing it with a tab, it actually tabs the beginning of each line. And notice that when you tab a line with nothing before it, it actually automatically aligns the rest of that line, because remember this is all word wrapped, to the same tab. So another feature I would like to include would be make it give the user the option to, instead of using tabs when you press the tab key, to use 4 or 3 spaces. So the last thing I was working on was setting up the options menu, the settings menu, and I was really having a hard time with that. I haven't been able to implement it yet, so right now it's just a blank button. It doesn't do anything. I believe that's it. So, all right.
All right, it's good, man. Good job. Good job. Samantha went. Caleb, you ready? Huh?
I'm ready.
Did you submit it via? Is it in the final thing? The final submission or something? Okay.
Lesson 12.
That's it right there, right?
Nope, that's lesson 12.
Huh?
That's not my final one. You're in lesson 12 now.
Ah. There we go. Okay. I guess you can just run from here, right?
Yeah.
All right, sir. It's all yours.
All right, so this is my very basic final app. It is a garbage day app. It tells people whether it's garbage day or not. They just have to put in what day it is today, or actually what day their garbage is. It gets their garbage day, or what day today is. Can't talk. So if we run it, what day of the week is your garbage taken? And so I'll say Monday because that's today, but actually it's Tuesday because Replit servers are something like 6 hours ahead of ours, of us right now.
Yeah.
So if I say today's Tuesday, and it says today's Tuesday. And that's pretty much it. You can type in, I guess I already showed Monday. It's Tuesday. You said your garbage day is Wednesday. Some of the bigger problems, not problems, the things I would work on is you can type in anything you want and it'll take it. So like I need to make it so people have to type in a day for it to not, otherwise it's just going to send you back whatever you gave and said to that today that it's not your garbage day. The biggest problem I had with this app is getting what day it is. There's this code right here, which tells you what the garbage day or what today is. And it took me a lot of time to try and find this code right here to make it actually tell me just the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Because every other code I found would give me, oh, it's Monday, April 11th. It's Tuesday, March 3rd at 11:59 p.m., things like that. So it wouldn't just tell you what the day of the week is. And so that was my biggest problem with doing this.
Cool.
That's it.
Good man. Good job. You know what garbage day is. All right. Next up. Marion? No, I've got a video on yours, right?
Yes.
All right, go on, come on up, and I think it's right here, I believe. I'll put it back to the beginning, and I'll give you a little, let you do your little intro, and then you can hit play.
This app is based on the need on in an industry where you have the CNC machines. They run on a program that usually is made on another computer, and you have to go through a long process to generate a program. And what happens is many times you want to, the program is very much the same because you usually make the same type of parts, but they're just like some numbers that are changing in the program. So it's kind of like useless to keep going and, you know, go through all that generating the program work that it's a high skill or whatever it is. It's like you can just take a program that was already made and just change those couple numbers that anybody can measure or they can do. So for that, I'm going to try to go, because I started with the code, but it will make more sense if I show the program. So that's a spot where I know the program is. So on the right side is the program that was already generated before, and it was loaded from the computer memory. And then on the left side, you type in the numbers you need to introduce in the main program. And that was the challenging part too. The program actually has to read everything on the right side, find the tags and the key elements, and to find the right spot where to insert the numbers on the left side. And that's actually, it's just all codes. It's hard to find the right key elements, but you know, once it's still a code, so there are ways around it to find them. So that was the hard part. The successful part was when actually that program was actually loaded on a machine and it actually worked. That was pretty cool. So I had to make, and I mean, some of it doesn't make sense even to me at this point, because like a lot of this is just makes sense on a paper when you're reading the manual or whatever, the instructions. So I had to, I made certain, so I mean, I'm saying there's no, I can't really explain everything what's in there. It defeats the purpose for this presentation.
And
But
you wrote this in C#, correct?
C++.
C++?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a, well, sorry. So I had to use some classes for, using for lines, for a column, the one you see on the grid, and and two forms. This is something like I want to use in the future, where the file name is going to be actually generating the job number, the detail number, or whatever, a lot of information in the file name, and that's going to be a lot of string cutting and pasting and all that. So I'm trying to show the classes I made. I had I would say 3 classes, and with the variables, they're not very complex, the classes. They're basic, but it has a constructor. I didn't really need a constructor, but it has a function that will read the file, and it will take the information from the file in the variables, and that's really hard to do with I mean, not hard, but it's just when you're trying to see exactly which character it's where, and it has to be the 4th character. If it's the 3rd character, it means totally different thing. And, it very like a lot of permutations.
Is this a manufacturing firm you work for, correct?
Yeah. Yes. So it actually, I used it a little bit. It was actually used and it worked. Yeah. But we'll see how that goes. So anyway, yeah, that's basically it. It's here. I can show. Oh wait. So that's basically how it works. It's like a little bit of a quick rundown. You load the process file, how we call it, which is a bunch of gibberish for us. I mean, if you ask me to read that right now, I can't. I need to stay with a pen and a paper, and then you type in the numbers, the information. And then when you say preview, it's going to take those numbers, find the right location in this gibberish, and then put those numbers in the right spot. It turns the colors, kind of to give you an idea where it changed. Like I didn't fill all the numbers on the left, so it only did a little bit. And you can save whatever you have now. You can save it as a new process. Give you the
template.
Or template. Let's say, yeah, it's basically a template. Yes. So, and that's like the design part of it.
And I'm sure this can save a lot. It will save a lot of time.
Oh yeah, it does.
What's the average if you were to create one of these from scratch? What would it take, time-wise?
It depends on the program, but like something like that's usual, that's not very complicated. It will still take like 5 to 10 minutes to write the program.
Right.
And if you have this, I mean, it's like 2 minutes maybe. So it's quite a bit. I mean, if you think about how many times they have to do that, it adds up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Visual C++, the visual, and the right side, it's obviously it's like read only. I guess that's what I'm trying to do here to show, but I didn't have a microphone.
You get a raise out of this?
No. No. Yeah, you get it. Why are you trying to do this?
All right, let's give me a hand. Good job. All right. All right. Stephen here? Stephen? I always say Stephen, don't I? I have my nephew is pronounced Stephen. All right, go ahead and come on up there. Let's see here where I got it at. Is yours in the final submission, the replit? That one right there?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I was actually trying to copy yours to mine. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Too many files.
in there. It took me a while to copy it to the final submission.
All right, it's all yours.
So I made a Pokemon trading card database app. And what it does, it stores all the trading cards inside the app. And how the trading card game works is there's 3 different formats. There's standard, expanded, and unlimited. And with each one of those formats has the sets in that format. And you could just choose the set in there and it'll pop up a list of all the cards in the format. The biggest problem that I had was writing the text files and getting it to pull only a certain part of the text file and not the whole text file, because I only wanted just one of the cards. And I didn't want to just make a text file for each card because that would have taken forever. But one thing I would like to add is more cards in there, because writing a card in the text file took me quite a bit of time, and I, working full time, just couldn't get every single card in there. But basically what it does is run it. Usually takes a minute to run. And it'll ask you which format you want to browse, and then you can just type in the number and it'll pop up that format. And same thing with sets. You could type in the number or the set name. So for this, we'll just type in the set name, and that didn't work. We'll just do that. So that popped up the black and white set, and then it'll ask you to enter a card. So you can just type in one of the cards, and then it'll pop up all the information about the card, from the Pokemon name to the flavor text of the card, what the set number is, the attacks, pretty much everything you need to know on the actual card. Eventually, once I get it onto like a mobile app, I want it to pop up a picture of the card too and like a link to buy the card, but I couldn't do that in this. And I'll also ask you if you want to return to the main menu, if you want to run it again. I'll pop up more cards. That was the farthest set that I got with most of the cards in there.
How many files do you have to bring in?
Text files?
How many files, external files are big for each?
I think so far I have probably about like 13 to 15 files, because I have each part of the program, like the main program, all it has is just calling one function, and that function's in a different CPP file. So like each format is its own function in another CPP file, and each set is also a function within that format in a CPP file. So it's really easy to debug, and if you have a problem with a certain set or a certain format, you can just go into that specific CPP file and only view just that, so you don't have to scroll through all the lines of code.
Yeah, it'd be cool. A cool mobile app too.
Mm-hmm.
If you need help, do that. Like any of you do, or makers a mobile app, just a little plug. You could take the 180 and Android class and learn how to do that. But anyway, the back-end database for this would be really cool, like a cloud-based database.
Yeah.
Would do that a lot easier.
I made it for like card collectors and people who play the game, especially because a lot of people who play the game, they don't know what sets are in the formats and what cards are in there. So it's easy for them to build a deck and find out new cards that they could build.
Yeah, I'm surprised how popular this game. This game is still really popular. That's how high school was popular.
It picked up the last 2-3 years, way more since Pokemon Go came out.
Yep, Pokemon. Yep. Well, it's a good man. Good job. Yeah, I had a kid in high school that created a similar. It was all in C++. I think he worked all year on it, and it kind of reminds me of what he started. So good job. All right. Let's see. Paul, come on up. And Paul did a screencast, right? I got it up here somewhere.
Comment there, otherwise there's a link.
That right there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
So
I'll let you just talk and I'll play it.
So for my program, I wrote an app to basically procedurally generate 2D maps for simple games. I wrote it in Unity, which was probably the biggest challenge because it has a pretty steep learning curve to it. But it was something I wanted to learn anyway, so I figured why not throw it in.
And you've done Unity before, right?
Only,
Way back?
only a little bit,
Yeah.
tutorials and such. But this
You
was the
want to
first
explain to
one.
what Unity is? 'Cause some of them I don't know.
Unity 3D, it's a game development engine, basically. Lets you write scripts, and I think it's Java or C#. Basically handles all of the graphical elements, interfaces, can do 3D rendering, and it's pretty complicated. So most of what I have is in the video here.
2D procedural map generation in Unity using BSP. Tonight I'm going to be presenting a quick overview of my final project. I'll be going over the general description of my project, what is BSP, or binary space partitioning, why I chose to develop the project in Unity, the main features of my application, and finally a demonstration of some of the maps that can be generated, and links to the resources I found invaluable while developing this application. I've always been interested in game design. One of the areas I haven't yet explored much has been procedural generation, or generating content semi-randomly. This has the benefit of increasing a game's replayability as no two levels or experiences are exactly alike. However, it does take a bit of time to adjust various parameters to ensure that, in this case, rooms are generated with the desired sizes and that all rooms are connected in some way. For this particular project, I chose to explore one method of generating semi-random 2D levels that could be used in a simple maze or roguelike game application. Why Unity? Well, I'd experimented with creating very small programs and working through a few tutorials in Unity. I never really fully explored many of its features. I decided to write this application in Unity to become more familiar with its object structures, hierarchies, UI elements, and overall design mechanics. BSP stands for binary space partitioning. It's a method of recursively subdividing a space into smaller areas, and creating a hierarchy of objects and a tree-like structure to represent all parent and child spaces. The data structure itself is commonly known as a BSP tree. The first step in this project's implementation of BSP involves generating the root object, which represents the entire map. Next, the root object is subdivided semi-randomly either horizontally or vertically. Leaf objects are created, and the relationships to their parent objects are stored. This subdivision continues recursively on each leaf object until the desired minimum size spaces are generated. Next, a randomly sized room is generated within each resulting bottom tier leaf. Finally, hallways are generated, connecting the bottom tier leaves based on the relationships in the BSP tree. This ensures that all rooms are connected in some way. In my application, I allow the user to choose the desired size from 10 to 60 tiles on each axis before generating the map. Initially, the displayed map scale and positioning are determined based on the chosen dimensions. I also included camera controls to allow the user to adjust the map position and to zoom in and out if desired. The user may then export the map to a simple text file for use in other applications. Here are a few sample maps generated by the application. Finally, here are some links to resources if you're interested in BSP and its application in procedural map generation. Thank you for your time.
Well, that's good, man. Good job. Awesome. All right. Ready here?
Yeah.
Yep. And is yours in the final replit? Maybe. Let's see. Is that correct? or not a? Is that right?
Yep.
All right, cool. I will let you take over. Here you go.
All right. So I decided to make a productivity app. You basically can log what tasks you need to do. Challenges I had was including third-party libraries. That didn't work out very well, so I ended up skipping it. Successes, just once everything started to click, it was a really good time. It was really easy to do afterwards. What I need to do more is I'll explain it while I'm running this. All right, so you can add to your task list and enter details. So present demo. You can add that to that. We can view, and it'll do that, and it'll auto timestamp. And then you can hit 3, and you can turn off the auto date feature, and go ahead and go back into that. And we'll go ahead and add a random date here. So robots enslave humanity at this point. And you can view it, and it's all there, and you can add it. I wanted to add a directory list so I could add more log files, which then I could do per month. Then it would help organize it a little bit more. And then a way to save the settings between sessions, because it auto resets at the end. But there you go.
I like it. Give me a hand. Good job. I had an app like that, my old IBM 3150 had an app like that. I loved it. It was I use it all the time. Cool. And I like the little ASCII art there too. That ASCII art takes a little bit to do, doesn't it?
It does. And then because there's a lot of like escape characters in it, so I do double slashes.
Yeah. In fact, let me just peek at that real quick. Did you have it running? Is it in the get data?
No, further down.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. And so this becomes this. Pretty cool. All right, good job. All right, next. Kyle here. Come on up. I think I might have saved yours, maybe. Let me know if this looks right.
No, it's kind of close. Close.
Done it?
Oh, it was Wilson again.
All right.
No, it was Wilson.
Oh,
I'm straight.
sorry.
2 cows.
I did say Wilson. I did Wilson. There we go. That looks better, right?
Yeah, it does.
All right, cool. All right, all yours.
I made a student budgeter app because I'm going to NIU this upcoming fall, and I'm going to be getting an apartment. So it'd be nice to kind of like budget what money goes to what. Some struggles I had is that I kept getting E numbers, and it took me a really long time to figure out why. And I figured it out by I put pointers in all my functions, and it figured it out itself. And the only thing I would like to change is probably like looks of it, and that will like happen if I ever make it like a real app. So yeah. And say how much you want to spend on rent or how much rent will cost, utilities, and these are all doubles, so you can put decimals in there. Groceries, about $100. Gas, insurance if you guys pay for your own insurance, entertainment costs, and then just other expenses you might have. And then I'll add all those numbers up, and then you can put in your income for that month, and it will have an if statement. If it's above 0, has a surplus, and if you're below, it'll say how much you're in debt for that month. So yeah.
Awesome. Good man. Good job. Good to hear a college student want a budget early. That's pretty awesome. I like that. First time I went to my son's dorm, we went grocery shopping with him, right? When he was at home, he wanted the name brand cereal, right? He always wanted the name brand, Lucky Charms or whatever it was. We went to go shopping with him in his dorm. We went to Walmart or whatever and was going down the cereal. I went to go grab his normal cereal. Dad, that stuff's too expensive. You got to buy this stuff over here in the plastic bag. You get like a whole big thing. I'm like, well, yeah, I know that. I'm trying to get you to buy that the whole time you're at the house. You would buy it. Now that he has a budget, he wants to spend it better. So it's good to see you on a budget like that. All right, Jane already went. Carrie here. All right, Carrie's here. That's right. Carrie and I were looking at those books, by the way, hidden over in the corner. There's still one or two lone C++ and C books if you guys want some. All right, Carrie, go ahead and come on up. And did you have yours on the? Yeah, you got a replit for it. Cool. All right, it's all yours, sir.
Yeah, I made my app. It come to me one night when my wife was putting in employee hours. So I'm like, hey, I could make an app like that.
There you go.
Or put employee ID, the hours worked, and the pay rate, and it does all the calculations. A lot of the challenges was getting all the calculations. I wanted to write it out to an Excel file.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring in. I'm thinking about maybe doing a database eventually where all the employee numbers will already be in there. I'll show you how it runs. It runs until you tell it to stop, then it will display all the information. It starts off when you pull an employee ID number in. How many hours the employee worked. Get a rate. You want to continue, yes or no? You can put as many in as you want or as little as you want. And when it's done, I had a little bit of formatting. So I display the ID, the hours, the rate, any overtime pay, any gross pay, the tax, which I based it off of like 0 to 1,000 was 10%, and or actually $9.99. 1,000 to 299 was 20%, and then so forth. So I figured I'll get that into. I tried to write it into a spreadsheet. There's a lot of there's a lot of formatting involved in that. So eventually, if I keep it, I'd like to do a database and a spreadsheet to print it all out.
You can probably save it as easily save it as a CSV file, and then bring it in that way.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was easier to do the CSV file, but I wanted to actually do output into Excel.
Excel, yeah, makes sense. Cool. All right, let's get man. Good job. All right. Michael here. Joseph. Jack's not here. Kyle's here. All right. And this is your replit here. No, it's not. Right here. All right, over here, sir.
All right, so I created an app. It's kind of like a weightlifting / exercise app where you can input like the information about what you did, and then it will record it to a text file. There's also a calculator function included, which I'll show. All right, so it gives you 3 options. So if you wanted to enter in the journal, just hit 1, and then you type in how many exercises you wanted to do. I'll just put in 2. This is where I had the most trouble. I couldn't get it to work with like spaces because I kept getting a lot of different errors. Even when I fixed one thing, but I would just keep getting different errors. So you can't do spaces, but it's really not a big deal because you don't really need spaces anyway. So you put in like the exercise, set and reps you did. I don't know what else you could put in. Oh yeah, you could put in the weight. So let's say 300 pounds, enter. Let's say I went for a run, ran 3 miles, did that in 24 minutes. Then you hit enter, and we'll save the text file, and then it'll be input, it'll be right there. And then the other main function is like a 1 rep max calculator. Let's say you did like a maximum effort set, I guess. So let's say you did 500 pounds for whatever lift. And this is really meant for like squat, bench press, and deadlift. But say you did 5 reps, it'll tell you how like what your calculated 1 rep max is. And then if you just want to open the journal instead of just opening the text file, you can do that too. So yeah, if I had more time, I'd make the input more meaningful to where you can record and track like by exercise and like by weight, and it'll track like over time. So for me, it would be really cool to be able to compare numbers from like a year ago. And there's really not a whole lot of apps out there, especially mobile apps, that do it well, which is like, this would be a lot better as a mobile app, because other than this, like you can't really beat Excel, but I don't know, still useful.
Yeah, definitely. All right, it's good, man. Good job. All right. Diego. All right. Let's see here. Program generates 30. Oh, that was already went. Josh. Laura already went. Is that everybody? Everybody not go? We cycled through everybody? Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about end of semester stuff here. First is let me go to the announcements so I won't forget. Well, before I skip out of that, before Sunday, what's this Monday? Before the coming Sunday, do me a favor. If you've not yet submitted your links in the 16 final app, I can't give you a grade till at least you've submitted some of your links in there, which is going to be your app website, your GitHub repo, and your Replit link. If you use Replit, some of you use videos and Screencast-O-Matic and stuff. So just as long as you have your links in there, something I can grade, that would be great. It's 100 points. So as long as you submit your work in there, you're going to get 100 points for it. And on the website, I'm not looking for anything real, mind-blowing, just data that I can see what the app's about, and that's about it. And that's all I really want. If you wanted to some of you put pictures in there and stuff, but you don't have to do that. That makes sense? So make sure you get that in by Sunday. If you've not yet registered for fall or summer and fall courses, they are still open. Don't wait too late. Those who've been here a while know, especially the upper level courses that aren't required. Some think you can wait to register for those. It's really best to register early, just to make sure that they go, because they have to have a certain number, like 40% cap usually is what it is. What that means is we have to reach 40% capacity in that classroom for that class to go. And so if it's a 20-seat class, we have to have at least 9 or more for class to go. And so help us out if you want to, I know some of you, and I was the same way in college. I'd wait till the very end to register, so I get it. Because, the longer you wait, the longer you have to wait to pay for it as well. And so I get that totally. And so the fall always does that, so I don't think, honestly, we'll be talking cutoff for fall until probably July, if I was to guess. More than likely, 1st of August, something like that. So we got a little bit of playtime. If you talk to advisors, they'll say, do it before June, but you got a little bit of playtime to play with still. And so if you're waiting to register, definitely do it by June-ish. That'd be great, end of June. There is a link here on all the courses. Read those. Events coming up over the summer. I'll just give you a few coming up. We're going to be doing. I had a few students already volunteer to help, and I appreciate it. We're going to be starting in June. The hour of code is going to be at Cherryville Mall on the second level, and it's drag and drop coding. And I don't think I've ever demoed it in this class. I know some of you have been to these events, but I'll take a moment here to show you what it looks like, what the interface looks like. A lot of fun. The first one we're doing is the most popular one I've done. We've done this since 2015. It's called Flappy Birds. And you guys remember the Flappy Birds game, right? This is the most popular one. So we're going to do that on the right as a launching one. And I'll show you kind of what it looks like. And all I need is helpers to walk around helping. We have ages 5 and up that come to these. So I tell students that want to help to let me know. And then, in fact, in the RSVP, you can just, on this rbchourcode.com, you can just go to RSVP help, and you can tell me you want to help, or you just shoot me an email or whatever. The one we just did in May, by the way, was this Wonder Woman was from the movie Wonder Woman. They actually had some coders, developers from that movie come in and create some 3 levels for people to do some coding, teach people how to code with the Wonder Woman movie. But here's Flappy Birds. Kind of show you what it looks like. Give you a little preview. It's a lot of fun. Usually there's about 12 puzzles.
Hey everyone. One of the most exciting things about computer science is that a computer program can be interactive. Anytime someone clicks, taps, or types on a computer or phone, that generates an event. And there's some code that decides what to do when an event occurs.
So I'm not going to watch all that. So basically they go through, like this first one, attach a block, and the click event, press run, click and tap the screen to move the Flappy target. So under click and drag it there. Done with puzzle 1. And they keep going to puzzle 2, so on and so forth. At the end, what's fun is at the very end of the last puzzle, they get to create whatever they want to. They have a lot more blocks to deal with. And it's based on a program created by MIT called Blockly that's actually taught in MIT. Stanford teaches this as like instead of our 102 class, they teach a course like this called SNAP for college students. And you do get basic programming logic. The back end of the logic is like JavaScript. But at the end of this, what's cool is you can, we'll pretend we spent 10 minutes on this, creating our own little Flappy Bird game. When you hit finish, you can share it on social, or you can print it out. Usually I have the students just take a picture of this with their phone. And when they go home, they can type that URL in and continue playing with it, and what they call remixing it. You can remix other people's game, and it plays pretty well on the phones as well. So that's what Hour of Code is. And they get a certificate of completion when they're done. And it's from a website called code.org. That's been actually around for a number of years now, about 4 or 5 years. And I got involved in 2015 to get computer science in K through 12. Only 1 in 4 K through 12 schools offer computer science. How many of your guys' schools did not offer any programming in K through 12? Did not offer programming K through 12. No programming whatsoever. So yeah, about over half of you actually. And so that's what this is all about. Our code is to get. It's actually a nationwide event on December every year, but I make it a monthly event because why not? It fills up and it's free. Laura's helped with a number of them over the years, and a number of other students have. And so we're at a 11 million mark right now. 11 million, well, actually 11 million students are female that's taken it. 25% of U.S. students have accounts through code.org. And so again, it's targeting K through 12. And one of the things I do also is I train middle school teachers how to do it, because you don't have to be a programmer or a programming teacher to teach it. They give you pretty much all the curriculum to teach it. You just have to have somebody kind of I'm there to just kind of facilitate, kind of help them if they need it. And so they even have all the way up through elementary, high school, middle school. And they've just added recently what's called, which you guys might be interested in, is this App Lab. The App Lab actually is for older students, 13 plus, with JavaScript, and you can create on the App Lab. Let me see if I can sign in with the I think it's what this is one account I use. This actually can be played on any phone too. And I'll show you one more tool you guys can play with over the summer you'll like. All right, so if I go down here to, let's see, dun, dun, dun. My App Lab. There it is. So here it is, App Lab. They move stuff around. Okay, so it's kind of a drag and drop thing, right? But what's cool about it is, as you can see, it's got the blocks. This actually looks a lot like Snap, like I talked about earlier. But behind the scenes, you actually see, if I bring in a block in here, like say a run block, and I can go to the code version of it and see it's converted it now to a JavaScript code. And so if you know, as they learn scripting, you can actually replace the block with actual code. And so it's got, this one actually has data points. You can actually store data on it and play it on an actual phone. And once you're done, you can share it with other folks to remix it. I think I might have one that I'll show you. This Whack-A-Mole was one that was a remix that I did to show kids. It's actually high schoolers. And it's basically you're supposed to hit a block to get points. If you don't hit a block that doesn't have a smiley face, you get negative points. And the code behind that is over here on the right. And what they went in and changed the emoji, whatever they wanted it to be. And then once they learn the code, they can actually come in here and do the function changes with code. So that's kind of cool. They added that in the last 6 months. Now, the last one I'll show you, we've been using this with the Girls Who Code club. This is called Thunkable, and this is something you might play with over the summer. It was created by college students to for new developers or novice developers or non-developers that have no Android or iOS experience, like yourself, maybe. It actually can go in and start building, and the X platform is what it's called. So iOS is called the X platform. And so basically what it is once you create an app, it's the same concept as the drag and drop blocks. But if you look over here on the right, I can download it as an iOS app or an Android app and upload it into the App Store immediately. So from one platform called X, you can download and publish, or you can just publish this one directly to the App Store. Now you have to have a $99 developer license, but you can still publish from the App Store with Thunkable. This platform, by the way, was created by 4 college students to create coding, make coding accessible for non-coders is what it was designed for. But they've added more complexities to it. Like in an example here, I'll show you, you've got on the user interface, normal user interface stuff like buttons, labels, web views, but going down to voice, they have voice to text, speech recognition. On the image, they have pretty much everything image-wise. Data, they got a real-time database, which is a real popular backend database. Web APIs, local storage, spreadsheets. That might be something maybe play with on yours. And then location maps and sensors, and authentication with Firebase. And they even take new and they just added monetization where you can accept payment through the apps that you create So Thunkable.com, check it out. And I suggest creating in the iOS platform because you can export in both iOS and Android when you're done. And there's tons of tutorials. Tutorials are kind of cheesy, by the way, just so you know. This guy kind of speaks in a British accent, right? Kind of like, hey, think about something like that. But you can ignore that. It's a cool concept. And a lot of, since I work this all day in the app world, one of the things businesses are always looking for is platforms that are exportable from one entry point. And so again, I'm surprised this hasn't been bought out by Google, by the way, because it's actually a pretty cool concept. And so on the back end of it, though, it does have the ability for actual code to be typed in as well. So that's something to check out as well, Thunkable.com. But you guys been a great class. Learning coding is ongoing all the time. I encourage you to learn as many languages as you can. I know I have some of you next fall for my 280 class. Look forward to seeing you then. If you can't take it in the fall, it's offered every fall, and then Android's in the spring. And with 3 classes of CIS270, or no, 170, which is Logic, 280, which is iOS in the fall, 245, which is Android in the spring, you get a mobile app certificate to where you can actually, get a job with that, as far as an entry-level programming job to start working. And so encourage you to do that. And I've had students ask me, what's the best language to learn? All of them, really. As many languages you can get under your belt, right? One of the languages I'm brushing up on, I haven't used in a while, is Python. And that's a code language I'd like to teach on campus, just not time. But Python's used heavily in artificial intelligence now and machine learning. And so been doing some Python coding with Google's AI, with voice and vision. And so the tool we use this semester for your C++ brush up tool, remember the first 8-9 weeks, that's a great tool to learn new languages. Python's one of them in there. And so as many, because when I do a project, I'll just give you an example as we end here. Any programming project I do throughout the month, I'm probably doing 8 to 10 languages for any one programming platform, because you're dealing with an example on an app like you guys did. The reason I have you do a website is when you develop an app, you usually have some web interface to train people how to use the app, whether it be something fancy or not. So that's HTML, CSS, right? Maybe some JavaScript. And then whatever language you use, in this case with C++, but it could be Visual Basic, it could be Swift, it could be Kotlin, whatever, okay? And then even programming when it comes to social media. We have somebody present on social media. Programmers today need to know social media too. They need to be able to promote what you're working on through social media and GitHub, be able to promote your work, to have people test and people get interested in what you're doing. And then lastly, sharing your knowledge, which you guys have been really good at doing, I think. Sharing that's one of the great things I like about presenting final apps is you're working on an app that you actually thought of. Some of them you came up easily, some of them not so easily, but you thought of the app, you created it. And even though it's only maybe at this point a prototype level, it's still something you created, really, if you think about it. And that thought you can actually keep building on, and hopefully we'll keep building on in C++, but I know a number of you want to convert it to a mobile app or convert it to a website or whatever, right? And so it morphs and grows. And the last thing I'll leave you also with is journaling. One of the things, I know that annoying journal you thought you had to put in. I do a journal all the time. I just use notes on my Mac and phone, the Notes app, whatever it is you want to use. But I jot down ideas all the time of apps that I have no time to work on, by the way, right? Zero time. But there's times where I have zero creativity, though, for weeks on end. I can't think of anything new. My brain's dead. And I don't want to think of anything new. I don't want to think that way. And you will have those times, too, where you go through creative modes, where you're really creative, and you maybe can't sleep because you're thinking of something. Write it down. Because if you don't write it down, if you're like me, you won't be able to sleep. You won't be able to think. You won't be able, you're thinking of this concept, right, all the time. When you write it down, what that does is, the reason you can sleep is you've actually, if you're like me, the reason I can sleep is because I know I'm not going to lose it. Meaning not lose it like in lose it, but lose it as in, not lose the idea, right? And you can lose the idea, especially the older you get, your memory gets full. I don't know if it's just me. Well, if that's really true. Okay. Memory gets full and then things just kind of pop out and don't come back. And so writing it down helps a lot. And so hopefully that encourages you. But again, I was impressed with not only this class, but my Android class did an awesome job. My 180 class online for Visual Basic did a great job this semester. It seemed like this semester, you guys in total, in all my programming classes, raised the bar, man, like major on the app ideas were just awesome, I thought. Just really, really good. And I know some of you are frustrated because you want to do so much more. That's a good thing. That's a good problem to have, by the way, because that'll just push you to do it more and more and to work on it more and more. But my email's open over the summer if you need, just because you're not taking a class over summer, or maybe you don't have me in the fall. If you need help on anything programming wise, don't hesitate to email me. Be more than glad to help you any way I can. And if you want to volunteer with anything we have going on with the RBC Hour of Code, just shoot me an email. I'll put you to work. I think I've asked for like 4 volunteers per event. I've pretty much filled up. For the most part, I got 1 or 2 spots left through December because we have from June to December there. And so if you've never been a part of that, I would encourage you to do it. And Laura, I'm going to pick on Laura because I know she's a lot. This is your last semester, right? Is it? Can you tell them why you liked volunteering with the little kids when it comes to coding? What did you get out of it? Even the girls who code, I know you helped with that.
I like coding and I like kids and it's fun to do. It looks good on my resume.
Right. But you got something out of it. What did you get out of it personally helping these kids?
Well, a lot of times I know about like the websites and stuff we were using before. So.
Yeah. Were you impressed by some of the ideas they had, some of the things? Yeah. Pretty crazy, right? Yeah. So that's what I've been impressed. When you guys remember, right, when you're in 3rd or 4th grade, you have all these awesome ideas and you have no money and nobody thinks you can do anything. So, and nobody listens to you. That's really the kind of, the seed kind of that plants, genius ideas, really. Like a girl in the Galapagos school had an idea of a kids version kids version for Amazon, kids Amazon app, to where the parents could put a cap on this mobile app for Amazon for kids, and it'd be like $10 a month or whatever. And it'd be a kid-friendly search. None of the items could be anything but kid-friendly stuff. The kid could order whatever they wanted to within that budget the parents gave them. And then the girl also had an idea. Well, what if they can't write yet? Maybe do speech to text, where they could actually do a search via speech on the Amazon app. And this girl was in 3rd grade, by the way, that had this idea. And I said, "Now you put some thought into this before, right?" No, she came up with that. Just asked a question to the 3rd graders. Give me an app idea that you think would be cool for 3rd and 4th graders. 1 minute later, she came up with that idea. And so those are the ideas that really, if you think about it, are probably the $1 million app ideas. The app ideas are like, wow, that's kind of cool, right? And so the ones that you think are inconsequential too, sometimes are apps that are really going to be, I call them $1 million ideas, even though they might not make $1 million. The ideas can help a lot of people, right? And so if you can help a handful of people, that's great. So I'll shut up. So good job this semester. Great job. By next Wednesday, your final grade will be posted. I'll see some of you at graduation. Who's going to graduation, by the way, for those besides those walking? Okay, cool. Awesome. We'll come up and empty out. We got 1 full box of pizza left, which I definitely can't take home. So I know we got some guys and gals in here. Maybe take some of that home before you go. So empty those out before you go. And thanks to those who brought extra stuff tonight. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, see you in the fall.
Yeah. Apologies, I realized that it was a C#.
Do what now?
It was C#.
It was C#. I thought it was. Yeah.
I grabbed the wrong one. I worked